Hi, Akanksha Patankar Mirji. So finally, we are meeting online.
And it's fabulous to meet you, Vinay, because I really don't think we've had an opportunity to meet as such. Definitely not in the physical world. And doing a
Yes,
one-on-one online meeting is also like a dream come true.
yes, it's a dream come true. So I'm nowadays focusing since March is a very special month for women as it is considered as Women Day, and Purple Day is also here. And you
Yes.
are wearing a purple T-shirt. Uh, you are a good in your journey and your struggle, your battle about epilepsy.
Okay. So actually, my journey with epilepsy began over a decade ago. My son is
Okay.
now 11 years old. Okay. Now, why do I
Mm-hmm.
mention my son here specifically? He's the older of my children. Okay. I have two children. Now, I began with what is known as eclampsia. Eclampsia, for the people who
It's
are
it's
unaware, is a condition which is also known as pregnancy induced epilepsy. So, yes, ladies, gentlemen, there is something known as pregnancy induced epilepsy. We've all heard of things like pregnancy induced diabetes, right? But very rarely do we hear of a condition called pregnancy induced epilepsy. Abhi, if you look at pregnancy induced diabetes, it's the kind of condition which comes for many people, it goes away once the child is born. Similarly,
yes,
pregnancy induced epilepsy, there are cases where you get it and it goes away. But in very few cases, it stays on for
yes,
a
it is
long
unstable.
period of time, right? And that is exactly what has happened in my case. I remember even my gynecologist telling me that, look, you are like one in 1,000 or 10,000 cases, maybe one in that 1 lakh cases. Not only that, what is interesting is my daughter, who is my second child, there's only a 15-month age gap between my son and daughter. Uh, so I thought the seizures had stopped after the birth of my child. Well, I was really, really wrong. Okay. I went to numerous medical facilities and they told me, all right, decrease your dosage, all of that. And then, wham, in the middle of my second trimester, I had a seizure when I was having my second child. I haven't really told you about the first child. First child, of course, the confusion was, my God, you're so happy to be having a baby. And then you've got this thing called pregnancy induced epilepsy. You don't know how to handle the balance between the two, right? Should you be joyful that, oh, wow, we're going to be having a baby? Or should you be unhappy because there's this thing called pregnancy induced epilepsy? So it was a very confusing time period. To be very honest, I did not focus much on the epilepsy part, apart from what I had been told clearly by more than even my neurologist. The person I listened to at that time was my gynecologist. Okay. If she said, do not listen to music that is like hard rock music, that was the kind of music I do enjoy. Don't listen to heavy metal. Don't listen to rock music. Didn't listen to heavy metal. Didn't listen to rock music. Started listening to more soothing music. She said, Don't watch shows like, Crime Patrol India. Don't watch CSI. Don't watch any of those heavy shows. Watch only light and fun shows. Great. We move towards the comedy sphere. What she was also trying to do was to try to help me find my triggers and reduce the stress, which is what a gynecologist will do when you are pregnant in any case. Now, honestly, how we discovered my epilepsy was very random. Just imagine, I had literally eaten and gone to the kitchen to, wash the utensil. And when I came back, my husband was sitting on a chair facing the television. And suddenly he saw me kind of crumbling to the floor. And that's when he came and he grabbed me. Okay. And we said, okay, there's something up here. There's something wrong. And that's when the gynecologist told him that, listen, I think you should take her to a neurologist and show her to the neuro.
Okay.
That's how we discovered that it was pregnancy-induced epilepsy. The second time round, we already knew that there was something called epilepsy because I was on medication, continuous medication, which would not be harmful to the first child, and it would not be harmful to me in any manner either, because you can't have a very heavy dosage, or in my case at least, my body could not handle very heavy dosage at that time. So they took it easy.
Okay.
Cut to, let's say, 4 years later, 3 or 4 years later. Okay. So I was working right throughout my pregnancies, and this whole pregnancy-induced epilepsy, I did not take it seriously. First learning, big mistake. When you are told you have epilepsy, pay attention. Understand more about the condition. Learn more. Read up about it. Just because you're becoming a new mom, don't spend all your time only reading about being mom. Okay, don't just sit and read a book which is telling you about the stages of your pregnancy. You have something called pregnancy-induced epilepsy. What is epilepsy? How do you manage epilepsy? What are the triggers? What are the things that you should or should not be doing?
Yes. Somehow, which I feel that trigger are most important.
Triggers are extremely important, especially when you're an expectant mother, right? When you're an expectant mother, you have to know your triggers, because you can have a seizure due to your trigger. For me, one of my greatest triggers that was identified was stress. I was working in a stressful job, in a stressful environment. Okay. The ideal thing for me to do at that time would have been, oh, just stop working. No, you cannot. There is something called income, livelihood that still has to come into the home. You're producing and bringing new life into this world, right? You're taking on more responsibility. But how about remembering what we are told on a flight every time? That in case of an emergency, okay, and suppose those oxygen masks fall down, first wear the mask, then put it on your child. Why do they say that? Because if you won't live, your child isn't going to survive either. So as an expectant mom who was diagnosed with epilepsy, one of my biggest learnings was that I should have learned more about the condition at that time itself. It took a second child for me to get into that mind space, right? And ever since then, it's been a 12-year journey, right? So after I had the children is when I started learning, understanding, probing a little more. You know, I didn't know what epilepsy was. I only thought of it as, those fits or seizures that someone gets. But there's just so much more to it, Vinay. You would probably
Yes.
also know and understand. Okay, now as a woman, it may be a little different because you have, I won't say the burden, but it's the responsibility. You have the responsibility of taking care of yourself. You have to be responsible for taking care of the life you have brought in to this world. It's important,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's very important to the father also. And I thank God, and more than God, I thank my family for being so supportive of me all the time. My husband is a husband who shares the load. He truly shares the load, whether it's in the kitchen, whether it's with the children, okay, anywhere he shares the load. That's because he's been on this journey with me. He may not be me, but he sees it. He sees the daily struggle. Okay, he helped me. If he hadn't been there, I would not have been able to really, manage those two pregnancies the way I did. Okay, so he's like this really strong pillar for me. Uh, Post my, pregnancies and having the two children, I still decided to continue with my great stressful jobs. What I did was, though, I moved from a smaller town to a large city. I now live in the city of Bombay, which is also known as the financial capital of India. Uh, I
Yes.
lived in Bombay
Yes.
for a very long time earlier as well. Okay. However, there was a certain intent behind moving to a city like Pune, which was a smaller city. And we decided to come back. When we came back to Bombay, I found myself another job. Again, in the same arena that I was working in before. My neurologist
Okay.
told me, Akanksha, uh, can you change your job? I looked at him and I laughed. And I said, Doctor, are you serious? You're telling me to give away 20 years, 2 decades of my professional life. You're telling me to just give it away, throw it away. Don't bother with it. I mean, I have invested 2 decades in that. Okay. So I refused to listen to my doctor, who kept telling me that my greatest trigger was stress. And here the doctor I'm talking about is my neurologist. Your greatest trigger is stress. You're in one of the most stressful jobs. Okay. And think about changing it. Think about changing it. And I would keep laughing at him and telling him, you are off your head, doctor. I cannot do this.
Uh, Sometimes which I feel that our neurologists, they give us uh, indications or chances, or I would say to rethink that we should rediscover ourselves.
Well, so doctor decided, I mean, doctor had that intent. What I thought was completely different. And then I got hit hard with reality. The day I had a triple seizure. Okay, so it started with a seizure in the office. Then my husband came to pick me up. We left. Within 5 minutes, I had a second seizure. Okay, he took me home, and I was in the car. He brought some things up. brought some clothes down actually to the car for me, and I changed. In the meantime, I had my third seizure. So within a period of say 1.5 hours, I had gone from being someone who was sitting working at my laptop perfectly fine and normal at the office to the emergency room at the hospital. I spent a week in the hospital. For a week, I couldn't see my children. For a week, I wasn't working. Not only that, post that also, a very compassionate work environment, I must say, that they allowed me to not work for at least another week, 10 days. So I had taken over 2 weeks off just to recover and go back to work. And that's when I'd had my reality check. And I said, listen, let me listen to my doctor, my neurologist now. And I stopped. I gave up that job. I moved on. Today, I'm very happy and proud to say that I'm a story coach. So I've actually done a diploma in storytelling. I use storytelling as a tool when I'm doing training programs for corporates as well as for young children or anyone who thinks that stories have the power to enable them to do more and to become change makers. Secondly, of course, I'm an educator. So I teach the postgraduate course in mass communication. That incidentally was what I used to do as my job. I was in the field of mass communication. So I decided to change and become an educator. So I teach these young students who come in to do their postgraduate course and empower them to go and face the world outside and find work. What have I done for myself?
That's great.
What have I done for myself? Right? After that, I realized it's very important to keep yourself healthy at all times. Okay. Follow right nutrition patterns. So, for instance, I realized junk food doesn't work for me. Eat healthy, eat on time, sleep on time. Okay. I've done things like going 2 or 3 years without a seizure and then having a nocturnal seizure, which I've never had in my life ever before. Okay, you can either cry about it or you can hit the reset button and start over. I cried about it for one day, hit reset and started over. But what I've realized increasingly is we have to be very mindful. Okay, extremely mindful about the things that we do. For instance, know your triggers. No, food is important. These are a few things I tell everyone. Listen to your neurologist, please. Don't go searching
Yes.
for
Yes.
outside. Right? A lot of people don't.
Yes. Rather than experimenting on yourself, it's better to have an open conversation with your neurologist.
Yes. So listen to your neurologist. Eat healthy. Ladies, I cannot stress to the women out there, especially, we are supposed to be also the homemakers, right? If you're not going to take care of your own food and nutrition, how will you be able to manage the food and nutrition for the entire home? And never put yourself behind everybody.
Yes, that's a very important point. That nutrition is the most essential for
Yes.
females, especially.
Never put yourself behind anyone. In India, we have this tendency of, taking a back step if we are ladies. Why? You're equally important.
Yes.
And the person you have to be most important to is yourself. Okay.
Yes.
Try and do things like establishing patterns like sleeping on time. Okay.
Yes.
Now, if I have to wake up at 6 in the morning to send my kids to school, I better get 8 hours of sleep, right? So
Yes.
eat on time, sleep on time, medicines on time. Oh gosh, I cannot stress the importance of that. Medication on time. When I don't have my medication on time, I am bound to get a seizure. It happens. Okay. So, I mean, be careful. Understand your other triggers. I mean, I was reading someone else's post today where they said, alcohol, strobe lights. Yeah, it may not have such a huge impact on me, but I know strobe lights is something I don't like very much. So I try to keep myself out of an environment where there'll be too much of strobe lights. Okay. What else
Yes.
can I actually say to the ladies? I cannot stress the importance of just being you. Not only that, a very
Recently, I
important, yeah,
saw your post of Tata Mumbai Marathon.
I was just coming to that, Vinay. I also realized that
Uh,
part of health is keeping a healthy body. And I started walking. That walk has now transitioned to like a jog. Okay. For me, I'm not doing this to win races, but rather with the whole intention of completion. So the first marathon I participated in was the Tata Mumbai Marathon this year, which was about 5.9 kilometers. I was
that's great.
elated to have finished. Okay, it took
That's
me
great.
3 months. And then the month after that, I decided to do the Juhu Half Marathon, which is here in Bombay. It was a 10-kilometer run. A lot of people told me, "You're crazy. You're jumping. Don't you think you're jumping too quick?" I said, "You know what? I think my body can handle it." And I was right. My body handled it. But it was because I go walking every day, people. You see a lady walking around in this t-shirt in Mumbai, be rest assured, this is the lady, okay, that you're seeing. Because I love my purple. Okay, I love, now, the word I was looking for earlier was respect. But why should I look for that word? Respect is also known as Samman. We have a support group here called Samman, and it is all about respecting yourself and respecting others with the same condition. Okay. So again, work on your food, work on your medication, work on your sleep pattern, stay healthy and fit, run, walk, do whatever, do yoga if that makes you happy. And yes,
Yes.
be happy, wear this smile.
Yes. Yes.
Very
So,
important thing.
so on coming Purple Day, I'm participating in a brevet, which is organized by Audix India Women.
Yes.
So, so having a conversation who women with epilepsy who are inspiring. So I thought I should start with you, and you are the first one. I'm having a conversation, and I need your kind wishes for that 200-kilometer brevet.
Absolutely, Vinay. I am with you. I think everyone is with you. You're going to do this. And yes, do it with great pride, especially remembering that it's Women's Day and it is about women in purple.
And it's a Purple Day.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to go out and record my run too.
So, it became special for me. So, I'm like, oh, why not? So
Thank you, Vinay.